Do you know an invisible symptom of childhood apraxia of speech? Sometimes it can be visible, especially in the early stages of therapy for apraxia, but as the individual grows and ages and improves, this symptom can become so invisible to the point that only the person with apraxia knows that they're experiencing it. The invisible symptom is difficulty with on-demand speech versus volitional speech. On-demand speech is speech where the person is required to respond immediately. So this might be a situation where you're asking the child specifically, say this, say that. It might be a situation where they're just called on in class out of the blue. It might be a situation where they're called on in class not out of the blue, but they still have difficulty getting out their words. It might be a situation where they're asked a direct question, something as simple as, what did you do this weekend? This can be confusing because individuals who are still highly verbal, who have childhood apraxia of speech in the history, can still experience this. And because it might only be obvious to the individual and a child isn't always able to explain themselves, they instead resort to a coping mechanism where they might just shut down and say nothing, or I don't know. The implications for this in terms of the child's quality of life, honestly, are huge. And when I give workshops, I tell SLPs, we are assuming a lot. When we are assuming that the child, the verbal child with CAS, now that they're verbal, can now always respond easily and readily in every environment, in every situation, easy peasy, no problem. It's not true. It's not true. And we need to know about it so we can make accommodations, yes, but also teach them to advocate for themselves and teach them about how apraxia does affect more sometimes than the planning and programming, the movements for speech, which is kind of the standard working definition. I had two children in here last night, and I asked both of them, this one girl who's very, very verbal, she's only working on some residual errors at this point, and I asked her if her birthday is coming up. And I said, oh my goodness, and her mom, I said, what is your theme gonna be? And she goes, And her mom was like, hey, yes, you do. We just planned it last night. You planned the whole thing with me. And I instantly picked up on that and said, do you sometimes know what you want to say but have a hard time getting your words out? And she looked at me with like this instant recognition. And she was like, yes. And I was like, so that's a thing with apraxia. You know your party. You know what you planned. And so what I want you to do instead of saying, I don't know, is I want you to tell me and be like, I need a minute, or I'm thinking, or hold on a second, and I will wait. And I'm like, or you can even say nothing, and I will wait until you respond. But what you know in your head matters. And I don't want you to ever have to say, I don't know, when you do know. So this is a really important topic. I could go on and on and on and on. But please, 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 if you have a student, child, or know an individual who grew up with childhood apraxia of speech, difficulties with on-demand speech don't just end when they are verbal. I just have to do one more story. If you follow individuals with apraxia, there was even one who does live streaming. She live streams all the time, but in a restaurant situation where she's ordering, she always seeks out menus that are paper, she had said in one post, so that in case she can't get her words out, this is a live streamer who has CAS in the history. In case she can't get her words out, she points to the menu. So this is a thing that lasts, this is a thing that persists across the lifespan, and this is a thing we all need to be aware of. If you're interested in more apraxia-related content, follow me for more.